Hi, just sharing a few thoughts here about President Donald Trump's behaviour while he's been in Paris at this celebration about the end of World War One, and there's been a lot of world leaders attend, and they've all visited cemeteries, and President Trump refused to visit a cemetery that holds the graves of American servicemen, the Marines, and he refused to go. He decided to cancel because it was raining. And on a walk to the Arch de Triomphe, which all the other world leaders, bar Putin, President Trump, drove to in his car. So, well, obviously he didn't drive himself. So it's as I said in my previous video that I made in reference to Christine Jordan, who is the cousin of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and was actively campaigning alongside her cousin. At the age of 92, as she turned up to vote, found that her name had been taken off the voting register, and so she wasn't allowed to vote. And she's been voting for 50 years, and she was shocked. She was in a state of shock, and her granddaughter was in absolute bits, tears. She just was so upset to witness this insult against her grandmother. A fine, upstanding American citizen who survived such oppression that most people of America today could not imagine living under the kind of oppression that that was the world she was born into. That's all she knew. And I made a video about it because I really felt that needed, it's just disgusting that even these haven't picked up on it, because they are talking here about the insult to the Marines by President Trump, who failed to attend because it was too much for him to stand in the rain in honour and remembrance of the servicemen who gave their lives for the country that he is now president of. It's absolutely outrageous. It is really, he ought to be fired from his job, because that's the job of the president, to recognise the people who have worked, who sacrificed even their lives for the sake of America, for the sake of the very fact that he is able to sit in the White House as president today, that our forebears have left this, created this world, have left the foundations. And that is a duty of a president, because a nation respects its soldiers. So it was outrageous. Equally outrageous is what's happened to Christine Jordan. And I'll leave the video link under this. Because, to President Trump, because he does not live in any true sense of the world reality that the majority of people live under to varying degrees. He's got no connection to anything except money and how to get away with it. That's it. That's his main driving ambition is how to get something out of nothing, how to make a profit, how to commit crimes and still come out on top, how to get away with lying, cheating, deceiving, fraud, how to lie with a straight face, how to accuse your accusers, how to spin and stretch the truth to suit yourself, how to avoid answering questions, how to avoid giving an account of oneself. In fact, how to be an all-round lowly character and yet at the same time be totally revered as Mr. Wonderful, to the extent, you know, millions of people are cheering for him. So when you look at Christine Jordan in comparison to Donald Trump, she is an absolute angel. She is an angel. There's no two ways about it. Her intelligence, her righteousness, the true life reality that she has living experience of. The truth of what it means for people under rule of the kind of people that Trump supports, who call themselves nationalists. And she and her family have sacrificed so much for the sake of their rights, for the sake of their human rights, and actually American people's human rights. And yet she was denied her vote. And that is every single bit as important as what's happened with Trump in Paris. I think in my video, you know, I said some meeting in Paris. I knew what the meeting was. I meant to say, according to him, as far as he's concerned, some meeting in Paris, because that's his attitude to the presidency. As I've explained in that video, he's a game show host. That's what he is, that's what he does, that is how he's handling the presidency. He's a game show host. And really, the mainstream news media's response to him as being equally like they're participating in the game show by deriding, mocking him, poking fun at him, expressing their disgust and upset and, oh, we're so insulted. It's like, look, there's more to dealing with this man and the consciousness that he upholds, that he serves, than sitting there poking fun at him, because it isn't getting anybody anywhere. The way to deal with him is to counterbalance, always counterbalance him with the life and the experience of real people who are living in America under rule of the kind of leaders that support him, the kind of governors, the kind of senators, the kind of Congress people. And to Christine Jordan, she has lost. She was denied her right to vote, and that is just absolutely obscene. It is obscene. It is obscene that a fine, upstanding American citizen aged 92 years old who has living memory of the horrors of the American apartheid system. The fear and the terror that they lived under on a daily basis. That they have survived. That this lady witnessed her cousin, who she stood by, Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. She witnessed him shot dead. Because he said, I have a dream. I have a dream. And that dream has been shot down, 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 and the people still standing. And then the system has to strike a blow at Christine Jordan, 92 years old. She's told, no, your name is not on the list. Go home. And she knows that she's a victim of fraud. She's a victim of crime that's been going on in states like Georgia, in Florida, in all the so-called Republican-controlled areas, where people suddenly find that they've been cast off the voting rolls, the voting lists. And they go to make their vote and oh, sorry, no vote for you. By the time it's sorted out, does she get a vote? And I noticed that Morning Joe, they have a guest on here who is, you know, a military person, and I think this is him here, and I'm sorry that I don't actually remember his name. I'm really terrible with names. But he expresses his dismay about the president failing to attend the remembrance ceremony honouring fallen US soldiers and Marines. And yes, it's sad, and this man has been invited onto MSNBC here precisely because he has living memory of this horrible war, and he explains here that President Trump just has no idea. He's got absolutely no idea what these men went through, what this war actually entailed, and how many people suffered. Because Donald Trump has got no respect for the real world that contains real people who have to really do the jobs that the very wealthy of this world, just to them it's just words on a piece of paper. Oh yes, we're going to start a war, we're going to invade Iraq. Oh, here's a few more words on some paper. Look, yes, they've got WMDs. We think they might have been supporting Al-Qaeda who did 9/11. Words on paper. Yes, go, men, soldiers, go and fight the war. There's the words on paper. Order from the men up top. You guys go and kill those guys. That's the world to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the game show host. But like I say, this man, again, another fine, honourable, upstanding American citizen, of course he should be consulted how and remembered, because it is the people like him, especially who President Trump has insulted, because they feel it inside their heart. It's a coldness in their heart. It's a sadness that saps them of their happiness. that their contribution, their life effort isn't even worth the president, you know, to go and stand in the rain. And that's terrible. That's terrible. That isn't what the office of presidency is not meant to damage people like that. That's the damage to the elderly. It damages an elderly person emotionally, okay? And that is also a physical harm for elderly people. If they're getting emotionally damaged, that can cause them physical harm. These are facts. This is a fact. It's a medically known fact that if you cause an elderly person stress, it can make them physically ill as well, or exacerbate any existing illnesses that they have. And so I look at Christine Jordan. Here she is. 92 years old, blocked from voting. Her granddaughter had taken her to vote. And again, thank you, Greg Palast, because at least you have kept an eye on this. At least you were there. He was there for this lady and her granddaughter. Thanks to him, we know about it. Not thanks to the politicians, the Democrat politicians. Not thanks to MSNBC. Not thanks to CNN. Not thanks to Fox News. But to Greg Palast. And it's, you know, everything that I've just explained here about the impact on this man, which the war for him was a period of his life, obviously a very important period, and it took a lot out of him, and it took a lot of courage for him to survive that. And equally, we also need to understand that for this lady, 92 years old, to get herself out of bed after everything that she suffered, because we're talking a war against her from the very moment she was born until finally her colour, the people of her colour, of her ancestry, had found civil rights, at last had been granted civil rights, that apartheid was ended, that she could freely go and vote without fear of attack. And then suddenly, at the age of 92, suddenly, she's got white nationalists chanting in the streets, a president that's calling himself a nationalist, Jewish people getting shot in a church, black people getting shot in a supermarket. And she goes to vote and she can't vote. No, you've been blocked. You've been taken off the register. In fact, you've never been on the register, is what they told her. They had no record of her. She's been voting all her life, and they suddenly have no record of her. Now, imagine the impact that has on this lady, as an elderly lady who's suffered the emotional and psychological trauma of her childhood. And I'm not going to go into the details of it here. I do briefly share some of it in the video that I'll post underneath this one. But that is bound to trigger PTSD. Certainly it caused deep emotional distress to her granddaughter. She was absolutely horrified. And I strongly suspect that this lady, Christine Jordan, is probably still recovering from the shock. That it will have hit her very, very deeply. That even she might not be consciously aware yet. she could be suffering from delayed reaction because she is so elderly and she has suffered so much. And so, you know, MSNBC, why aren't you? Instead of making your comments, yes, do discuss what Trump has done. It is abominable. Do have the people, a representative of the people whom he has directly slighted. But do counterbalance also what this present system under the Republicans is doing to American citizens like Christine Jordan, and express, you know, the nation should lament. I feel the nation should be in lamentation of the very fact that, you know, this president who cannot even pay his respects to the American war dead buried in France, that he cannot even bother himself enough to go out on a rainy day. And yet this lady who has never committed a crime in her life, who stood up for her rights, a true Christian, that when she got told that she's not allowed to vote, that was a strike across the very face, heart and soul of America. And if American people don't understand that, then you've got a long way, it's a long way down. You've got a long way down to go then. Because obviously you're not even half awake. And you're going to fall off the end of that cliff if you keep walking in that direction of ignorance, of disrespect, of a lack of righteousness and true righteousness for what's truly right. It's truly right that this lady should always have been recognised as an equal American citizen. Should have never have been judged and oppressed and persecuted simply because of the colour of her skin. It's, and you know, this is what I mean, that why she's 8 years off. You know, she was 8 years old, wasn't she then? For World War One. Go and have a look. Go and have a look what life was like for the average black American in 1918. Go and use the internet, do a bit of research. Trump doesn't know any of that. These Republicans who are denying this lady a vote, they don't care. They don't care. They don't believe that she's even a full... They still do not accept that she's a full human being. And no matter what the law has, civil rights has given, we can see day after day after day after day, they find ways around it to still persecute the descendants of the Afro-American slaves. In every which way possible. To such a degree that this lady, towards her final years, she has to witness people marching in the streets, chanting Black Lives Matter. Today, in the 21st century. That's an outrage. That's it. Progress, according to human consciousness, is obviously, it isn't even moving at snail's pace. It's not moved at snail's pace, because the reality, no matter what the words on the paper can always be worked around, can't they, in a fundamentally corrupt system that refuses to let go of its inherent racism. And why? Why is it that people like Christine Jordan are more likely to vote Democrat than for the Republican? Why is that? Because she knows what it is to be a human being. She knows what it is to suffer. She doesn't want to live in a society that inflicts that kind of suffering on anybody, regardless of the colour of their skin. And the Republicans do, and they make a profit out of it. And it's as simple as that when it comes right down to it. So now, she's not just being blocked because she's black, is it? It's because she's black and she's intelligent. She's got compassion. She's intelligent. She votes with compassion. She lives with compassion, righteousness. No, I don't want to take Medicare away from people. I want to give people healthcare. No, I don't want to take human rights away from people. I want to give people human rights. These are the things Martin Luther King was saying. Dr. Martin Luther King. This is what he was preaching. A truly Christian society. Truly Christian values that want to give people a living wage, that want to support women's rights. But you see, that all eats away at the profits of the Republicans, doesn't it? Who want to control, they want slaves, they revel in confusion, mayhem, chaos and misery, and they create it. And well, I'm going to end it here because I just hope that other media picks up on it. And I did also make an appeal to the Young Turks about it as well, and you know, because I just feel that we can't let this slip by. I can't let it pass me by. That's why I've made this video about it. I can't let it pass me by without comment, without sharing it with people, without alerting people to, well, especially America, without alerting America, look how low you have sunk, that this could happen. And nobody's really bothered about it. As far as the media go, as far as the politicians go, instead, you know, all eyes are on that guy now, what's his name, Rick, somebody or other, going on about how there's been voter fraud because these new votes have suddenly appeared in Florida, and it's like, go away, go away. Why was this lady denied her vote? Forget about him. Why are all the press fawning around it, going on about Democrat voter fraud, when he and his ilk have done this to this lady? What he's talking about is conjecture and hearsay. What's happened to this lady is an actual fact, and it's a crime. It's a crime, and it's a crime against her human rights, and it's a crime against democracy. So I really hope that people do pick up on it. And, you know, Don't share my video. Okay, I don't care if you share my video, if you subscribe, you don't subscribe. But do share this lady's plight and what has happened to her. Do publicly express your concern. Do hanker the alternative medias like the Young Turks, like even the mainstream media, that no, we want recognition for this lady. Because that is when things turn around, when we turn a corner. That's when life intelligence moves forward. When we can turn the corner and avoid walking straight over the edge of the cliff. And this lady, she's the face of America standing around the corner. And she could be black, she could be white, she could be Asian. But it's her humanity, it's her understanding, her experience that makes her so special. That really, standing alongside the likes of Trump, she's royalty. And as I said it in my previous video, this lady is royalty. And everybody needs to stop and think, because things have gone way, 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 way too far down towards a very slippery slope. And it's people like this, when people like this are made to suffer unnecessarily for no other reason than for what? Racists to succeed, divisionists, corporate profiteers to succeed, slavists. And that is why she has been denied her vote, and that says a lot. That says a lot about exactly what is in power right now in America. So thank you for taking time to listen, and God bless Christine Jordan and all her family.